I know you never leave your basement, so that's not an issue.
Hello and welcome to episode number 10 of Unrelenting for January 6th. It's a day that will live in infamy if you listen to the Democrats. Gee, I like the sunglasses.
We're celebrating something. It's worse than Civil War is what we're celebrating at the Capitol.
Well, yeah, according to Kamala Harris. I mean, This is 9/11. This is Pearl Harbor. This is all of this rolled into one.
9/11 times 10. Yes, exactly.
And I'm hearing a bounce back. I can tell you're not wearing headphones. You're Dvorak now?
I am. You're going to have to yell less because I am not wearing headphones.
Fat chance of that.
Yeah, well.
Don't you have echo cancellation? Where's this big audio gear? Come on.
There's no audio. Really? You want me to turn on audio cancellation?
I'm not hearing you. Make it work.
It sounds great to me. You're the one with the audio issues, apparently.
Worse than the Civil War. How lack of perspective. Could we just say that?
Uh-huh.
But this is all being done for one very simple reason, which is they're scared Donald Trump's going to run again. Or is there something else?
Pretty scared.
There's no other explanation for it.
No, I agree.
It's like this, there was one or two people died. I mean, Ashley Babbitt was shot by the Capitol Police officer.
I think the only people that died were on the demonstrator side.
You know, they said at the time.
I mean, there was a cop that happened to have died of COVID, COVID.
There was something that
happened. With a heart attack.
Right.
But it had nothing to do with the event. But it happened during the day of the event.
Right. It was the stress or something, right? I don't know.
I don't know, man. It sounds like a COVID death to me.
But the reality is trying to put those things in the same category that you had a protest that got out of hand. And by comparison of the protests that were going on for the George Floyd, way less. It just was in a unfortunate place being in the Capitol.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, way less violent than any of the BLM and George Floyd stuff. There was way less property damage. There was less people getting injured, less people getting dead. Yet Kamala Harris wants to come out and say this was the same thing as Pearl Harbor. I don't understand how that isn't just laughed out from people on both sides.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely nuts. I don't get it. Well, I do get it. I understand why they're saying that. Did you happen to catch Nancy Pelosi's video?
No, I tried to avoid Nancy.
Of Congress, I guess. No, there's a video. In fact, if we go to No Agenda Social.
You're going live
with the wrong thing.
See, well, that's not good.
Let's try that.
Video shows all of our mistakes. They're like that.
Oh my God. We're adding the mistakes in post, guys.
This is how
we didn't actually make them, but we thought it'd be funnier if it looked like we didn't make mistakes. So I'm going to try and find. I actually posted this earlier. So that's the easiest way to, we definitely can't be showing this out here.
You got your private videos now going out there. That's not good.
Somebody's going to have to blur this stuff. Not private.
You're going to get us kicked off of YouTube. Buddy.
Where's that video of, what's her name?
Nancy Pelosi, the Wicked Witch of the West.
She has
a freezer full of Jenny's ice cream, though. So that's good. Soon she'll be in the freezer.
Yeah. I thought I posted that today.
I mean, you post so much stuff. There's another way to
find it. I am. Nancy Pelosi, February 6th. That ought to show something, right?
For February 6th or January 6th?
Or maybe January 6th.
Wait, what's going on February 6th? Do you have prior knowledge? Wow.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean that to imply that I knew something was happening.
Yeah, something's coming down the pike.
There it is. This is the thing that's right there. That one.
The House of Representatives has adjourned.
Yeah.
Then Nancy comes on and says stuff.
She did. She came out to... Wait, no, what do you mean?
Our live event has started.
It has totally started because I saw her speaking. Is this it?
I don't know, but I don't hear any audio from it. There we go.
Section 11A of Resolution 188, the Journal of the Last Day's Proceedings, is approved. The Pledge of Allegiance will be
that's a
led
German.
by the
This is
gentleman.
before the German.
Defense. The House.
This is riveting, Gene.
I know, it's super awesome, right? Finding it live.
Inclinal discord and
The audio podcast really benefits from looking at a
From
video
searching for
And
video.
and searching for a particular audio.
Somebody should
segment.
probably have this stuff
And our
queued up,
members.
shouldn't they?
That would be the point. I mean, for audio
Insurrection
clips.
Well, we'll just pause the video. So this lady, this great grandmother, she talked about the Second American, how did she call it? Called it like the Second Civil War that was attempted on January 6th.
Really? So that was the equivalent of the Civil War.
Oh, it was worse than the Civil War, and thank God that
It lasted,
they were
what,
able
6
to-
hours? I mean, come on.
Sounds about right. It was super awesome that they were able to shut it down as quickly as possible, thanks to the information received from advanced info from all the Capitol patrols and police and everybody. It was ridiculous. I think there was probably about 25 people in the house at the time when she talked about it, and it was obviously an exceedingly biased and false, mind you, speech. But here's the thing: remember, you can say anything at all in Congress, and you can't be sued for it.
Well, there you go.
So the defamation laws don't apply. Wrongful whatever laws don't apply. I mean, you can literally call somebody Hitler when you're in the house, and there is no sanctionable activity for it. So that's the deal.
Well, the House is corrupt. I don't think there's any question about that.
I'm really at that point where we just need to throw everybody out, because even people that have been pretty good for the last few years, like our senator from Texas here, Ted Cruz, have now managed to put their foot in their mouth. Did you watch the thing with Ted Cruz talking about calling this an insurrection?
No. Well, he also said this was violent terrorist acts, and it was, I mean, there was some violence that happened. We all saw the video, if you were paying attention, at some point where people were trying to break in doors. I didn't see any violence against people. I did not see anybody being accosted, anybody, I didn't see battery, assault going on, where unlike what I saw in the BLM riots and the looting going on, where there were a lot of people being injured, where there were fights breaking out. You see this just with Antifa, no matter what's going on now. Didn't see that here. Was there violent actions where people were breaking windows and stuff to get in? Yes, but to call this a violent terroristic act, I don't know. I don't see it. I see a protest that got out of control. I saw a lot of people breaking the law. There's no question about that. But the reality is, when you're trying to put this for political gain on the footing of a 9/11 or a Pearl Harbor, it's absolutely nuts.
Oh, it's absolutely crazy. And it's sad to see guys like Ted Cruz being, I'm sure, advised by somebody that if he goes along with this idea that the Capitol was stormed by violent terrorists a year ago and not patriotic Americans, then he's got a pretty good chance of being elected president.
Well, that's not even
literally
the point.
the opposite of reality. I think he's just shut down any chance he had of becoming president by being on this side, on the wrong side of the argument.
Well, I don't even think that's the point. I mean, the people that went into the Capitol building broke the law. I don't think there's any question about that. Whether that should be...
But they're not terrorists.
No.
See, that's the point.
Right.
It's one thing to be trespassers.
Yes.
And if you call them trespassers, you're
being
legally accurate.
Yes.
There's no one's going to argue with you that that's what happened.
And did you see the FBI finally came out with the fact that, this wasn't premeditated. This wasn't pre-planned. They're now saying between 90 and 95% of the people that went into the Capitol building, they didn't talk to each other before doing it. This was not something that was pre-planned.
Yeah, there's no conspiracy there.
Right.
There's no there.
Right. This was, well, stuff got out of control, and they do know, and I'm sure there is a mixture of people that were the agent provocateurs, that were the people that started this. And we know from day one that there were some people from extremist groups there from both the left and the right. And what they did,
there was absolutely BLM people there. There's no two ways about it.
And their actions kind of helped light the fire, get the ball rolling, made it look like,
But again, it's literally, you had a good, well, first of all, very little police presence around the Capitol.
Correct.
You kind of have to wonder why. Secondly, the police that were there were telling people to not go in. And as soon as people just started walking in, the police took down the barricades.
Well, they went, hey, we can't hold them, so we're
letting people, like, with zero effort to call for backup or anything else. They were just letting people in, which is
a good
fine.
Question of
people
why.
Walking around, which we have plenty of video of, were mostly these sort of
tourists,
older people that are, they're acting like tourists. They're taking selfies. They're staying between the ropes.
Yes,
as they're storming the Capitol.
Unlike the BLM riots where they were, Molotov cocktails and burning buildings down.
A single torch inside the Capitol building.
I was surprised.
I saw a Viking running around, but that's some foreign invasion. I think that's a separate classification. I wouldn't call that, local
Viking
terrorism. There's a Viking left over apparently that is storming the Capitol to reclaim this country for Eric the Red.
But why there was no security on the ground, I covered this on Random Thoughts this week. RANDUMB thoughts.com. Kash Patel.
Is that what we're doing? We're promoting other podcasts?
Yeah, like I love Sergine Speaks. I mean, you should promote that every now and then.
I should do it every now and then too.
Yeah, well, that helps to actually do the episodes. But Kash Patel, who was Trump's chief of staff for the Pentagon.
Oh, Patel, right.
Yes. He was on with O'Reilly. I brought some audio clips to Random Thoughts. Yeah. And he said he was in the room on January 5th when Trump picked up the phone, called the Secretary of Defense and said, hey, looks like big crowds. Looks like there might be trouble.
National Guard out. Yep.
He said between, 10,000 and 20,000 troops was what Trump requested. And I guess, which is just seems weird because we've always heard that the president, commander in chief, he's the guy. When people want the National Guard, he's the guy that has to send them in. When it comes to Washington, D.C., besides the president saying, yes, go in, you also need to be formally asked, which is bizarre. But the two people, it seems like, that can formally ask for that in Washington, D.C. are either Nancy Pelosi or the head of D.C., so the mayor. Those are the two people that can request it. The Secretary of Defense on January 5th said Trump wants 10 to 20,000 troops. Yeah. That went in. They didn't want the troops.
They didn't. But the mistake Trump made, which he made a ton of mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
Which we can spend a lot of time talking about between now and the election, is that he let that stop him. He's the commander in chief legally. If they don't want National Guard, then you bring in American Army soldiers.
It would have been an interesting optic if that would have gone down, or at the very
least around the White House and Capitol.
Yes. Well, what Trump should have done at the very least was made it very public.
Yeah.
Before any of this went down, I requested the troops. They're saying no, they're not sending them in. And this is put the blame where it goes, which is with the mayor and with Pelosi.
Now, beyond the National Guard, we also have a shit ton of FBI that could have been requested. We have a shit ton of Secret Service that could have been requested. We have a lot of agencies that can provide support services, which they did, in fact, for Capitol staff, which, of course, then AOC interpreted as somebody wanting to rape her, because God forbid anybody would want to talk to her. Everybody clearly just wants to rape her.
Well, don't you know, anybody that's anti-AOC just wants to date her. The reason...
Well, I certainly do. I mean, she is pretty cute.
It would be an interesting... she'd be an interesting companion. There's no question about it. But you're right. The amount of people I think that you needed boots on the ground around the Capitol wasn't even that high of a number. Because again, the video, at least the stuff that I saw, were people trying to get in doors and windows with no security at all outside. Yeah. I think even if there was one FBI agent, Secret Service agent, one National Guardsman standing there, these people would have not been bold enough to go and try to break in. No, I don't think they were going to go through people.
They're going to, walk around the barricades the cops are standing into. I don't think anybody would have been walking around guys holding M16s.
That would be a hard sell to convince me that would have happened.
And I think the reason too, there's a sort of a desire to go conspiratorial, I think, by some people and say, well, Nancy Pelosi was doing this on purpose so they could frame all these protesters and make them look like what they've done now and say they were insurgents, they were starting the Second American Revolution and all this bullshit. But no, instead, had they agreed with Trump and had National Guard there, then there could have been a second backlash from conservatives talking about how the militarization of the Capitol had already started. And look at this, they can't even protest peacefully. So there could have been some bad optics for them. But that is literally what they did immediately following January 6th.
Right.
And then fenced off with razor wire fence a huge swath of downtown Washington, D.C.
Like there was magically thousands of people that were going to appear out of nowhere to surprise them.
Do you remember the troop count? The guys that were sleeping in garages on cement floors? They brought in 25,000 troops to guard D.C. against this insurrection.
That was over
immediately after the 6th.
That was, and Trump wanted that many on the 6th.
I think he wanted 10,000 troops, which was way more than anybody else needed.
That was always the number until Kash Patel, that interview the other day, he actually said between 10 and 20 that he would authorize. So either way more than was on the ground. Patel said 300 National Guard was approved by Pelosi or the mayor, whichever one. And they were basically traffic cops. So, I mean, yay. Yeah. Thanks, Nancy.
No, that's exactly it. All right. So the other thing that I popped up here and we didn't really discuss too much was the article about Ghislaine Maxwell and how now with this latest juror talking about what they discussed in the jury room during deliberations, that there's very good cause for mistrial.
Not a surprise. I mean, the legal system is in trouble with these kind of trials. The concept that somebody went in, and it sounds like this was on the first day of deliberations, if I'm getting the timeline right, and basically said, I'm a survivor of sexual abuse, and here's what happened to me.
How was this question not asked during jury selection? Usually it is. Usually that is going to be one of the first questions asked.
So I'm guessing this person lied to get on the jury and then used their story to influence the other jurors, because you're sitting there now with somebody sitting right in front of you. So it's like, I don't want to be the asshole that lets this woman off. This other woman that's right here.
Mm-hmm.
She was a victim, so we're doing this for her. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing get a mistrial. I wouldn't be surprised, because it's very hard with any of these big cases now to have a jury that isn't tainted going in, especially when they're not going to sequester them. With cell phones and the internet and all this, there's no way to separate the person from the case and not to see media coverage, not to talk to friends and family about the case, even though I'm sure they tell you still not to. I don't believe people really stick to those rules.
Yeah. And they're still trying to go after Trump and charge him with insurrection.
Well, right. Because, when he wanted those 10 to 20,000 troops, that was obviously to help with the insurrection. Did they think the National Guard was on Trump's, side in this case? I don't know what kind of insanity they're trying to pull off with this, but it's not good. The Maxwell thing is that's been a bizarre case from day one. Obviously, she was involved with Epstein's day-to-day life, But it seems to me that they went, oh, the guy we really wanted to nail's dead or wherever at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So we need somebody. And I don't know. I just didn't think the case was that strong. And it comes down to, in a case like this, it doesn't really matter to me whether she did what they said that they said she did. Not because I don't want to see justice served, but when you're dealing with things that happened 10, 20 years ago, and it's all he said, she said, and there's no physical evidence, it sets a very dangerous precedent. We saw that with the Justice Kavanaugh stuff. Stories fell apart. Even though a bunch of people told the same story, they fell apart. So with the lack of physical evidence, how do you put somebody in jail?
Well, it's about the optics. It's not about jail. By the way, so I know you don't watch Timcast for whatever reason. Which
no, I mean, because he's from Chicago, Tim Pool. He's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't have time.
You don't have time to watch him.
No.
Okay.
No.
All right.
I mean, he does a lot of content. I like Bill O'Reilly because he does 40 minutes, 4 days a week. I can handle that. I can't handle the 16 hours a day for 24 days a week or whatever Tim's doing.
Yeah. Well, the reason I bring it up is because Marjorie Taylor Greene was on Tim Pool yesterday.
Which is a nice get.
She was an awesome guest. So all I've seen is little clips of her that, even in conservative media, they're just showing little clips. And she's always presented as this crazy woman.
Right.
And she was on Timcast for about 3 hours, all said and done. 2 of those on YouTube and about another hour in their private after recording session.
And you finally gave in. You gave Tim some money.
I did. I gave Tim some money for access. I had to do it. His guests are getting better and better. So she was in, and boy, first of all, she's completely normal. Nothing crazy about her whatsoever. She's in extremely good shape. She was an athlete and has been an athlete her whole life. She is very reminiscent to me of, frankly, like an earlier Ted Cruz before he went all woke and flipped the side here, became a rhino. She's talking about how when she first came to Congress, that there was a lot of realizations that she came to have about how crazy things are actually done and how most bills are voted on with just a very small minority of members of Congress in using a voice vote.
Right.
So you might have, a dozen people from one party, 7, 8 people from the other party. They read the title of the bill that they're voting on. They have very little debate on it, if any. And then they do a voice vote. And it just blew her away. It's like, I didn't think this is how laws are passed.
And if you're lucky on a 1,000-page bill, somebody gave you a 30-second brief on what's in it.
Right. And so she started doing something that they're absolutely part of their procedure, which is demanding for a recorded vote. So a vote that actually records what every congressman actually votes on, which to do that, they need to punch in and push a button to vote.
Hard work.
And it also means that there's an automatic call that goes out to all their aides saying your Congress critter is required for a vote right now. And so it slows the process down because now for every vote, there has to be a waiting period of probably, at least 15 minutes, maybe half an hour to allow them time to get into the building and actually vote from their own offices. And she just started doing that for every single bill that was coming up. And she said that the hate was thick. You could cut it with a knife from both sides because the Democrats, obviously, she was screwing up with their schedule. They wanted to fast track a whole bunch of stuff, just get it passed through. And the Republicans didn't want their votes recorded.
Nice.
They wanted to be able to vote differently from what the position they're portraying, just because they're making deals. We know this from watching Game of Thrones, but House of Cards. Same show, different time period. Essentially with Kevin Spacey's character demonstrating all the backroom dealing that goes on, even across party lines. Well, if you vote for this thing because it's not that important to your district, then I'll vote for this thing that my district doesn't really care about that'll help your district.
Well, right.
And that ends up being a lot more important than the actual what's good for the country.
Well, right. And that's why I've been saying for years that this concept that bills can have such vastly different things in them. Like, well, we have a infrastructure bill to rebuild highways, and then this extra pork is added, which has zero to do with it, which is about, funding a study to see if caterpillars fornicate more in February. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that gets thrown in, and it's like,
do they? I mean, did we ever find out?
I don't know. It's very important to know. Anybody has that detail out there?
I think that it's critical to know whether they fornicate that way.
It's very important. And that's the kind of work the government does. I remember, 10, 15 years ago, I think it was, what's his name that died? The Senator McCain used to put out the report of all of the frivolous stuff that money was being spent on. And,
well, he was blackmailing a lot of people, so that makes sense.
It hasn't gotten better.
Put that out because,
Well, I mean, as long as we're getting our cut, it's okay to spend the money.
Yeah. Of course, right?
That's how it works. You want to get your cut.
Yeah, for sure.
Where do you think the Ghislaine thing's going?
Well, I think that she probably will get off because there's probably a deal that was made. Everything, all the evidence in the court has already been, what do they call it? What's the technical term? Where it's not public, where it's like all the evidence has been hidden. So yeah, I kind of suspect that this is their play. They get to have a guilty verdict. They got her convicted. And she gets to not serve prison time beyond what's already been served.
Now, wouldn't the conspiracy theorists say that she planted this juror in the first place?
I don't think she's planting anything. I think that this was all part of a deal that Epstein set up way back when.
You mean before he disappeared?
Before he got his plastic surgery, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly it.
Not that we're a conspiracy channel.
Well, I mean, I'm just repeating news articles here. I'm not creating any conspiracy.
And what's with the shades? Is this for anonymity? I mean, you decided to do video, but
these are prescription.
Oh, okay. Well, that's important. Yeah. That is very important. You look just like Tom Cruise from Top Gun. I mean, it's. Oh
yeah, I totally look like. I mean, he could be my identical twin brother.
Stunning. Oh, I thought he was. I thought you guys were related.
Tom Cruise?
Yeah.
No. He's part Mexican.
What do you think of this Getter thing now? Tulsi and Joe Rogan go to Getter.
I'm on Getter.
You're a Getter. I got an account just because I wanted my name, which is how most of these social media things go. It's like, I want the same name. Are you getting
into Getter?
Yeah, getting into Getter.
Okay.
They added about 500,000 people in 3 days after.
Yeah, it was some crazy amount. I thought it was more than that, in fact.
It may have been by the time all was said and done. I mean, I saw that Rogan had posted that he was there, he had over 8 million followers, which was like,
it was. And I don't think he's posted since.
Right. I think this was a kind of a threat to Twitter when it all comes down to it.
I think it was beyond the threat.
He posted, it was either there or Twitter, that the Getter thing was because if things get worse.
If they get her worse?
On Twitter. And it's like, worse how? How is it going to get worse on Twitter? I mean, you see what's going on already. What is worse to Joe Rogan than what Twitter's been doing? I don't know.
Yeah. Getter's also the number one social media app right now.
I believe it.
By number of downloads.
And who runs Getter?
Which is awesome.
Do you know who runs this? I mean, this is being touted.
China. It's Chinese.
That would make sense. This is like the TikTok people or something, right?
Kind of. I mean, it's different people, but yeah, it is owned by a Chinese billionaire.
And they're like, oh, no, free speech and, give us all your data. I mean, data is worth so much.
Give us the data.
Yeah. I mean, our thermostat was acting weird, and I think it was just a connection in it. But trying to order a programmable thermostat now that's not Wi-Fi enabled and will work with the devices is getting a little bit harder. And while I would love the convenience, I know I'm lazy and I often turn the temperature up and down depending on what's going on in the house.
Joe Rogan's got 8.8 million followers right now.
So that's growing. That's nice. And I would love the convenience of being able to say, Google or Amazon.
He's literally done 2 posts, one of which was a retweet.
So he's got way more people following him than you do over on Getter, I bet.
Well, I mean, a few more, sure.
A few more.
But, it's probably all just paid traffic from
China.
No, not China. No. From what's the audio platform he's on? The
Spotify?
Spotify, yeah. Spotify probably bought a bunch of people to follow him.
Go follow Joe Rogan. Oh, yeah, you're right. They pushed a button and bought a bunch of accounts. No question.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
But I would love to be able to adjust my thermostat using the talking tubes. But
I do that.
I know where the information's going to end up. I mean, it's bad enough that LG, and I railed on this when this happened, because I'm like, why the hell all of a sudden does LG require my email address to set up the app, which will beep, on my phone when the washing machine cycle's done or the dryer's done.
Yeah.
And I found out when I start getting monthly emails from LG telling me about my energy usage and the cycles that I ran on my machines. You
have an LG thermostat?
No, it's the washing machine and dryer. Every month it's like you ran X amount of cycles. It's like it's nuts.
I think my wash and dryer predate that period. They're also LG though, but my thermostat absolutely sends me emails. In fact, they sent me an email offering to send me some money if I allow the Austin Public Utilities to be able to
control your
thermostat. The thermostat. Yes.
It's a little too cold, Gene, and you're
I signed up for that. That was pretty good. Free money.
I know. You even got a mention on No Agenda. That was pretty impressive. Your carbon dioxide. I was going to say carbon monoxide concept. That's totally different. You don't want extra
people
carbon.
Should be breathing in more carbon, damn it.
Yeah, not carbon monoxide, though. Yeah, more carbon dioxide is good. Carbon monoxide is bad.
It's good stuff. It's all good for you. Now, to be fair, I'm also a big fan of H2O2.
Well, yeah, I mean, that would be good.
Yeah. So, I like all the elements. I like hydrogen. I like oxygen. I like carbon.
I mean, I'd say just get rid of oxygen. That is just causing so many problems. We should just get rid of all oxygen and the world would be a better place.
Well, there has been talk of an oxygen tax.
Every time you breathe?
Yeah. Well, I guess that's one of the activities that uses oxygen. Sure.
Plenty of
Luckily, electric cars don't need to breathe, so there's no taxes on that. But, if you have the old-fashioned car or
gas car is bad,
then that's not good.
You can't buy a lawnmower now in California. You can't buy a leaf blower. What are all these new laws that just went into effect?
Electric leaf blowers and lawnmowers.
Yeah, I know, but electric bull, no. That's a pain. I mean, now I understand batteries are getting better at least. But I remember the electric lawnmowers when they came out.
For China, that's where they're manufactured.
Yeah, but you need that 200-foot extension cord so you can cut the lawn, and you're never going to run over that cord. I mean, it's bad enough when you run over the cord with your vacuum.
What are you talking about? They're battery powered.
Now they are, yeah. But when they started, they used to have the cord.
They did back in the 80s. I remember.
Around,
in the 80s we had that. Yeah,
well, we were in the 80s. We were there.
We were in the 80s, yes.
Yeah, you were in the 1880s. I remember even
the lawnmowers where you push them and the wheels turning spin a circular serpentine blade that cuts your lawn.
You've seen it all, Gene. I understand. You're going back
a few of them.
Through the 1920s and all that. Now,
people cared about their lawns back then.
Well, now you could just put in AstroTurf, which, I mean, that would be much more friendly.
Right? Exactly.
Much more friendly to the planet. But I thought it was interesting, this NASCAR story.
What's that now?
The driver, I don't remember his last name, Brandon, the Brandon of Let's Go Brandon.
Yes.
Well, it was an interesting story because he wanted nothing to do with the Let's Go Brandon chant, which I kind of get. But then he needed a sponsor for this upcoming season.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a crypto coin, which is the Let's Go Brandon crypto, I guess. Because, I mean, everybody, why didn't we think of this? Why didn't we think of the crypto coin, Let's Go Brandon? And they were going to pay him a lot of money to do the crypto and to sponsor his car. And NASCAR said no. We're moving around on the...
Can they overrule sponsors?
I guess they can.
That seems a little weird, doesn't it?
I would think so. that they can say, no, this doesn't fit with the NASCAR branding.
How does crypto not fit with NASCAR?
Because it's a Let's Go branded crypto.
I mean,
and that,
GoDaddy fit with NASCAR.
Is bad. Yeah. They are against the Let's Go Brandon thing.
Oh my God.
But the slippery slope is that NASCAR said basically that they don't want to be involved in politics. And I get that to a certain point, but the people that are involved in the sponsorship when it comes to NASCAR, let's see what we got here. Coca-Cola, Xfinity. I mean, of course, Xfinity owns a lot of these cable channels that are horrible. Amazon. I mean, there is a lot of companies that are listed here on the NASCAR website that I know had made political statements revolving around the Black Lives Matter thing, the George Floyd thing.
Black Lives Matter stuff happening for sure.
So if NASCAR is going to say we don't want to be involved with companies that could be politically involved or politically controversial.
Does NASCAR not know their fucking audience?
I don't know.
I mean, seriously, do they not know the people that actually go to the event, not just people that watch it on TV?
I don't know. That NASCAR has always, like country music, been more conservative than liberal. So the fact that you're kind of going completely liberal, I mean, you wonder why the races are now empty. I mean, we had a racetrack here in Chicago for a handful of years, and it was heralded as, when they built this thing, it was a 75,000 seat venue in Joliet, which is right outside of Chicago, right down the road from me.
Down the Blues Brothers way.
Right. Joliet Jake, baby. And they sold seat licenses. That's how hot these things were. They sold you a license to be able to have the tickets. And we got that for the first 10 years or so, whatever the racetrack was here. They were going to immediately start building on. They were saying this was going to be a 150,000 seat venue by the time it was all said and done. I have no idea
why there's a video of a tangled up parachute playing right now.
I don't know. It's your website. So
not my website. It's the New York Post.
Yeah, well, screw the New York Post.
Apparently showing a guy that jumped out of a plane, pulled a chute, and the chute did not open.
And that is something to do with NASCAR rejecting the Let's Go Brandon car sponsorship.
That's a video underneath the NASCAR rejecting it. Exactly.
It is very strange.
Nuts. Well, keep talking. I want to see the end of this video.
What ended up happening here was the races were no longer even bringing in a big enough audience through the gates that they're no longer going to race in this venue. So the venue was built and now it's been abandoned.
Wow.
Yeah. There was a lot of money put in. There was a lot of hope because this is right outside of Chicago. When I start getting into NASCAR with, my wife and my sister and my brother-in-law, we'd go to the races in Michigan. We'd go to Indianapolis. I mean, it was great that there was going to be a venue here in Chicago. Now nobody cares. And you wonder why. Well, I can tell you why from my standpoint, which was NASCAR went from being entertaining where the drivers were actually allowed to have a personality. I mean, granted, a lot of that was in the, aw shucks, hillbilly, far, whatever kind of mentality. But the minute everybody behind the wheel was a pitchman, like the Jeff Gordon, very refined type, people started not being interested. It turns out they like the Tony Stewart types that will punch a guy in the parking lot that calls him whatever. But I mean, to wrap up the NASCAR story, I think they're just being hypocritical asshats for not allowing this guy to take money. I mean, he had nothing to do with this, and it's calling it a Let's Go Brandon coin. Okay, this means that any meme that then starts meaning go fuck yourself. You know what the new meme for go fuck yourself should be?
Oh, whoa. Do I need to rate this PG-18?
I think so. But the new meme for go fuck yourself should be NASCAR. That should be the new meme. And because then what are they going to do?
Let's go NASCAR.
Right. You can't say NASCAR then. If Let's Go NASCAR becomes the new meme, that's what the people should do now. That should be the new
NASCAR.
Meme. Let's Go NASCAR should be the new screw Joe Biden meme.
Mm-hmm.
Because now what's NASCAR going to do is they screw this guy.
We can go on board with that. Sure.
This is a lot of money involved. And for them to be like, no, we're not gonna let you do the sponsorship because
That makes no sense because it's not like it's some adult company trying to promote some adult products like marijuana.
And it wasn't the full name. The only thing that was going to be on the car was LGB coin. No, LGB. They were.
Oh,
so it's like they were.
So it's even a gay coin.
Right. So I don't know. I just thought that was a little bit hilarious that they're going.
Back in the olden days, there was no LGBTQPR++.
No. You didn't have it.
No.
You did not have it.
It used to be called GLB.
And that was fine. But the fact that you can't have that on a car because it means something else.
I'm old enough to remember when the lesbians took over.
There was, the feminazis. Remember Rush Limbaugh?
GLB.
Yeah.
With the gays being first and the lesbians being second. But apparently, that's not feminist enough.
Everything changes. It's why all television is now crap. That everything
it is kind of crap, isn't it?
Has gone to wokeness. And it's fine to have things that tell those stories. I think we should have diversity in that. I think people should be allowed to tell the stories that they want.
Diversity of opinion.
Right. Where we don't have now. My mom, who used to, 80 years old, loved to watch the Hallmark movies up until recently because they were.
Oh, what's your mom's name? I might know her.
Arlene. Now,
from Chicago?
Right. From the Chicago.
I remember going partying with an Arlene in Chicago.
I mean, but you were a youngster then. Well,
I was much younger.
Much younger than you are now. But now they're all woke. I mean, and that's every one of them. Every Hallmark movie over the Christmas holidays was woke. And that's fine to have those. But you should look at things like, I guess, Yellowstone, which is a series I have never watched. And
I've neither. I don't know anything about it.
I've heard it's gotten good reviews and it's very conservative type Western kind of storytelling, not fully woke. Could be totally wrong. Have never seen an episode, but ratings going through the roof. So I'm guessing maybe that people
will be canceled.
It's right. It will be canceled at any minute.
You non-woke. Yeah.
It's like, but let those stories be told. Let James Bond be a womanizing man. That's okay.
Yeah.
To have those stories.
Yeah. No, they want to ruin everything. That's the bottom line. And feminism ruins everything.
Says Gene at sirjeans.com. You're not wrong, though.
Well,
you are not
wrong. I might be saying it, but I'm not wrong.
Now, I do like that the new law that Joe Biden and the Democrats put out. Did you now see that any payment of over $600 on Venmo, PayPal, all of those will now be reported to the IRS?
Of course it will. That makes total sense. They've been wanting to do that for a while. Sure.
So if you want to donate to this show, $5.99.99 is probably where you want to be.
Yeah, that's a good point.
that's the amount you want to be at. This is going down that rabbit hole. This is going down the rabbit hole. Oh, there we go. Yellowstone, yeah. Largest cable audience since 2017. Wow.
Yeah.
That is impressive.
And that's a cable audience. It's not even talking about the online audience.
True. You mean people that pirate or stream and do all that kind of stuff?
No, I don't mean people that steal. I mean people that stream legally.
Right. Wait, you can do that?
You can't measure the pirates because they're pirates.
Right. You want to be the pirate party.
I mean, if for no other reason to not pirate, the reason should be that you're not helping your favorite show get the ratings to promote it.
Right, to keep it around.
Canceled.
Right.
And get canceled because you pirated it.
Now, does Hulu, I mean, they must report those numbers because they have to then pay for those shows. It's a very weird thing when you do pay for a streaming service on how that reflects current shows that are still being made. I get the Seinfeld catalog. You can tell by how many people are streaming it, whether they're going to keep paying for it. It's weird for current shows because it's like they're being made not for the streaming service, but the streaming service.
What channel is this on anyway?
I don't know. Maybe AMC or something like that. I've never seen it. I've never seen it, but Kevin Costner's always been good, I think.
Oh, is he in it?
Yeah, I think he's the main dude.
Is he the guy with the gerbils, or am I thinking of somebody else?
No, that's Richard Gere.
Oh, Richard Gere has the pet gerbils. Yes.
Wow. Okay, Gene.
Well, I remember when that was news, man.
Well, yeah. I mean, you were
just yesterday,
just a youngster then too.
That was just yesterday, man.
We do. We do have some people to thank for the show.
We do indeed.
Let's get that out of the way here. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Out of the way. That's a great phrase.
No, not the correct phrase. Let's thank them. I just meant before things go too far down the gerbil rabbit hole. Well, would that be a gerbil hole? I would guess.
Whoa. Where are you going with that, buddy?
Be a gerbil hole, not a rabbit hole.
Gerbil hole. Exactly. That's exactly right.
But how do we want to do this? Because you've got the folks that have come in now on Locals, which is
people are starting to provide a little bit of support on Locals. Yeah.
Which is unrelenting.locals.com. Or is it will they get to it at unrelenting.locals.com?
Unrelenting.locals.com. Yeah.
Okay.
That's exactly right.
So there's that where I've got the Patreon. This is the first show of 2022. So I've got the Patreon and the checks and the PayPal that came in. So I don't know how we want to do this. My number one guy is $10 coming off of Patreon. I don't know. You could probably trump that. We should probably put this list together.
I mean, that is not. So I guess that is your number one guy. Go ahead, but I'll actually beat that.
Hey, Brian.
But I didn't realize I was supposed to pull up the info yet.
You mean have it ready to go for the show?
Well, I figured I had more time
to thank you. We all think we have more time.
But,
Gene.
okay.
This is a truncated show because of, video and getting this done and getting it set up. But that just might mean there'll be an extra shows, more content. We could also trunk on add on the interview we did too, or we could save that, or we could put that out there. But I'll go through mine and then you can go through yours. And that would make sense. So $10.
I'll look for stuff.
Brian Janak, who's I'm sure enjoying the nice warm weather in Wisconsin. And he came in on Patreon and he was splitting them up. I believe, if I remember what he told me. If I'm wrong, Brian, feel free to correct me. But he upped it to $20 on Patreon, but he wanted 10 to go here and 10 to go to Planet Rage because we don't have a Planet Rage Patreon. So the accounting is getting fun.
Yes, it's because you're doing like 30 shows at the same time.
I know. It's exciting, though. That way, when one of them falls apart, if people just stop watching the show, I got like 14 other shows to keep doing. So it's just
I know. You don't worry about an exit strategy because you have a new show starting every week.
It's like the Survivor of podcasts. And really, it's true. Like every month, and one of these shows should die and a new one should start. And it should just keep churning like they do with soccer in the EU. Where
what is that? There's a policy name for that. What's it called?
Regulated something. It's bad though. When you finish in last place, you don't get to play in the league.
Off the league.
Yeah,
you lose the league privileges when you get kicked off,
which I think is fantastic. If they did that in like the NHL and Major League Baseball, that would be fantastic. That would be so much more exciting if the last place team had to go to AAA for the next year. That would be awesome. But there's way too much money involved, I guess. But that's the number one guy here, Brian. Thank you. Then coming in with a $6.96 check, Betty Solero, always in the troll room when we do the stuff live. Well, that's always fun. Johnny Hipwell coming in with $6.66, mainly because it was a $20 donation, which was split between Random Thoughts, Planet Rage, and Unrelenting. So, I mean, people like listening to me. I mean, you're just kind of the afterthought, Gene, is what they're saying.
Yeah, I'm pretty much.
My buddy, Sir Truck Driver, with $5 again. That was part of a donation, which was also including into Random Thoughts and Planet Rage and the Rock and Roll Pre-Show. So thank you, Sir Truck Driver. He's on vacation, so I'm sure listening to this, enjoying a Mai Tai or something like that. Coming in with $5, Curtis Peterson through PayPal. We appreciate that. Stephen McConnell, Dennis Woods, both coming in with $5 on Patreon. And of course, Jeremy Gerdes. Now, I wish I had I should have kept this here because I was going through all the checks for the year. But I mean, the 33-cent checks are real. And another 5 of those. So we appreciate that. And his checks are by themselves. And it's like, if they were $100 bills, those checks, we would be flush, man.
Oh, yeah. We could stop doing everything else.
Yes. But we appreciate that. Those are the folks on my list, and this is a Value for Value podcast, which is being done in a variety of different ways. You can get value back to us, including Patreon, Locals, PayPal, crypto. Nobody's done the crypto in a while. I set up the special addresses. I don't know if I posted them, though.
Did you check the crypto?
My phone will light up like a Christmas tree if crypto comes in.
Well, it should have lit up then.
It should have lit up when?
Yeah, like 2 days ago.
Really?
Yeah.
I saw no crypto.
Yeah, because I sent a test donation that you should have gotten.
No, you did not send
I absolutely
crypto.
did.
No, you sent a boostergram.
That's
not
that's
crypto.
That is
That's
totally crypto.
podcasting 2.0, baby. That's not crypto. Crypto goes right to Coinbase, the evil Coinbase.
All right.
Podcasting 2.0. I did get your boostergram, just like I always get your buddy CSB's boostergrams.
Okay. Well, all right. Fair enough. I mean, I guess if we're going to call it a boostergram, that's fine. So I'm still looking. I really should have. You should have mentioned it before. I could have looked it up.
Gene, we're going to be thanking the people who have donated money through locals today on the show, during the show.
Well, that's a great reminder. I appreciate you reminding me of that reminder.
Put a little post-it note right there next to those beautiful Wayfair sunglasses you got going on there.
Yeah, what brand are yours, buddy?
I don't know.
All right, I think I'm in here. Let me look.
Riveting
yes, I'm in here. God damn it, I finally figured out how to log into PayPal.
PayPal? You mean locals? Yeah. You're in the wrong place, Gene.
No. I'm not, because I got a PayPal donation.
Ooh.
For this show.
Oh, this is an interesting turn of events.
In the amount $111.45.
Wow. What does that number mean?
Clearly, the man was drunk.
Probably.
No, I think he said he was.
Oh, was this Sir Howitzer?
It is.
Oh.
Sir Howitzer.
Sir Howitzer and Dame
Sexy. But I wanted to double check on the exact amount because I wasn't sure.
And he sent you PayPal. Wow, that was a really bad choice for,
I told him that that's a safer way to do it. Because that way I know the money is held in very controlled environments, which I don't even remember the password to. So that worked out well.
Right. The money is so safe, even you can't get to it.
No. And I'll go ahead and make a distribution from that amount to you.
But thank you, Sir Howitzer and Dame Sexy.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. So that's why I was saying is like, I think this donation beats the first one a little bit.
Oh, I think so. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he said it was something that he was having a bad holiday season, that he tested positive and things were going bad. It is very weird. Everybody at this point, I think, that is ever going to get COVID is getting it now. I talked to a buddy that owns a restaurant and he's like, everybody's got it.
It sure seems that way to me. I think most people that I know they're going through the whole COVID thing.
It's going to happen. I mean, the beauty of it is it seems like it's kind of turned into the common cold. We don't give medical advice.
Well, it sure seems whether or not it is the common cold, it sure seems that it's a equivalent to common cold.
Yes.
In terms of, what's actually what people are getting and the symptoms they're getting, and then the, I guess, debilitatingness.
Right.
If that's a word, of the disease or not. Because it doesn't really seem like it's a whole lot.
Well, this is the insanity then of people all having to rush to get tested if you have no fever, the sniffles, and you're like, might have COVID, better get tested. And they're showing that these antigen tests are very much not picking up Omicron, where throat swabs are, which this seems like maybe Omicron goes into the throat.
So before we jump onto medical stuff,
right.
We did have a few other things from locals that I need to figure out a better way of tracking, because we have Brew City Mike, who's been making donations on locals.
Right. He was the first one that came in.
He was the first one that came in. And he's still making them. We have also, and here's the problem is all I have is their local's name. So I don't know what their names that they would prefer to be called are, but Mr. SRM 691, has made, he's done donations for 2 months.
Beautiful.
We have Josh Mandel, who's done 3 months worth of donations on local now. And then we have HB Worth, who did a $36 coin donation thing deal that we have yet to figure out how to turn into money, but it's in there.
Yeah, we're figuring this local stuff out.
Yeah, so the locals is definitely starting to commence support. It's not like these $100 amounts that we're getting in PayPal for sure, but it's nonetheless, it is definitely a support that we appreciate. The thing that we like about the locals is that it lets us push things out and communicate with the audience a lot easier.
Right. If you want to do a live stream where people can take part, it's easy to do.
We're trying to not rely on too many platforms that we don't have direct control over. And what I mean by that is free platforms.
Right.
So, yes, we don't have direct control over locals in the sense that we don't own the hardware running it. We're not paying for their bandwidth, but we are their customer with a contract with them. And that is a little more control than simply finding one of these, free or nearly free type things, and then trying to leverage that. Now, both of us still very much are using No Agenda Social, which is not a service we're paying for.
Correct.
But at the same time, while I'm happy to, chat with people on there, I post plenty on there. I don't want to overuse my privilege on there and not have it look like we're using that for our show, because that platform is really meant for the No Agenda show.
I don't know if I would say it's meant for it, but yeah, I mean, it's
literally called No Agenda Social.
Yeah, but I don't think if you asked Adam Curry or John that they'd be like, well, no, you can only talk about No Agenda here. This is just one of many federated servers. But I do get the point of.
But it's for the No Agenda audience, because they're paying a very real bill for this. This is costing money to operate, and they're doing it on behalf of the first 10,000 people that signed up. Now, we both happen to be in that group because
thanks to Aaron
emailed me and said, "Hey, you got to sign up for this." I was like, "What the hell is this thing?" Oh, it's better than Twitter. It's better than Facebook. It's the next greatest thing. And I sign up, and there's 12 people on there.
Well, social media is so spray and pray. That is the problem with all of this fractured stuff.
Well, I mean, now it's 10,000 people, but when I signed up, it was literally 10.
But any social media is, because, I post something on Twitter, you're not there. That's fine. But you could post something on No Agenda Social and somebody else isn't there. Like
you're not on there.
It's a very fractured thing. Right. If I were to follow you there, I'd get so tired of you. I wouldn't even want to do the show. It wouldn't be a surprise.
And I can't apparently share the screen of No Agenda Social.
Well, because
No Agenda Social is not moderated, and there's porn there occasionally.
Yes, you don't want to do that. I mean, not if you want to be. If not, if you want to be
not
thrown
YouTube.
off of YouTube.
We could on the.
So the concept is either you have your own website, which we always have for all the podcasts that I do, and we have one for this. But those are very limited. They're usually WordPress sites. There's only so much you could do.
It's very easily hacked.
Yeah, even if it's not easily hacked, it's a pain in the ass to add things.
Yeah.
Like video, live streaming, and all of that. Right. Locals provides that, again, not a perfect service, but the best we found, if there's something better.
It's pretty damn slick, and it works anywhere without having to configure anything. And apparently it works even better when you don't have your Stream Deck configured.
Right. And while StreamYard seems to be working fairly well too today so far.
Yeah.
Which is a paid version of the OBS kind of a concept. And we've learned that we can do it free, but there are issues with quality.
Yeah, we can do it with OBS. Else. We spent about 6 hours setting up OBS.
Yeah.
And testing all kinds of things. And it is totally doable. But here's the problem is that OBS is very much tied to being in a particular setup at the house.
Yes.
Whereas this with StreamYard,
you could be anywhere.
I could be traveling. I could be sitting in a hotel room, flip on my iPhone, and then have my iPad to the side, and we can literally still do the show.
Yes, it's a beautiful thing.
I know you never leave your basement, so that's not an issue.
Well, there's actually the basement's another room, but this is the office. So, I mean, the basement's one half level
office
below. Yeah.
Right.
This is the office, big green screen.
Let's pretend that's true. Yes.
It's an office. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I am. I'm working. This is where I do my work.
That's right. It's a working environment. We can tell.
Yes. What else?
It's a professional working environment.
What do we got?
What else do I got? Yeah. Well, I don't know that I have a whole lot because I know you're getting hungry and you're not going to get fed until we finish recording.
Well, that would be
so why don't we stop the show and continue on with the after show, for our paid members.
The after party of Unrelenting.
The after show.
Yeah, so we'll be back.
After show.
Next week. I'm sure crazy stuff will happen. No question about it. Until next time, I'm Darren O'Neill. He's Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise, I think, is what he looks like. I'm exactly Tom Cruise. In his mind, he is. In his mind, he's 20 and buff, too.